And we are live. Hello, my friends. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about breaking news in Guayaquil, Ecuador. A little bit about me. My husband is from Guayaquil, Ecuador. I have been to Mexico, including done prison ministry in Mexico. I've been to Puerto Rico on a mission trip, and I've been to Uruguay, South America for 2 months. But I have not yet visited Ecuador, and I really would love to visit Guayaquil, Ecuador. Why is my family not gone yet? Well, my kids were little, and we didn't have enough money to all go. But we always kind of hoped that someday we would go there and even maybe live there in the future, maybe do ministry in Guayaquil, Ecuador. But right now, the situation is super, super dangerous. What is going on? The whole world became aware of it yesterday when some drug cartel gang members with a purpose to make an announcement on the news, invaded a live news station and some violence ensued, right? But they were taken by the police before they were able to make their announcement. But today I'm going to read an article from the New York Post. New York Times, sorry. I apologize. New York Times. And it goes in detail, and I already read it, but it goes in detail explaining what exactly is going on in Ecuador and why it's happening. Now, recently there was an election in Ecuador, and one of the potential presidents got assassinated by these gangs. Why? Because he had one foot in each side. He was promising the people he was going to crack down on the gangs while he was also being funded by gang members. So it was having to do with the drug cartel going on in Ecuador. This is partly because America is customers of the drug cartel and the drug trade. Now, the drug cartel has been a very dangerous, powerful influence in Mexico. This is one of the reasons why securing our border from Mexico is very important. And a lot of people do not understand that because they have not been over the border to Mexico to understand that there are cities that are controlled by the drug cartel. There is so much violence that people live in fear, and innocent people are killed like every single day. People don't understand that because they haven't been to Mexico. So people don't understand why securing our border is important so things like this don't happen in America. Now, thanks to our current lovely president, God rest his, well, he's not, I was going to say God rest his soul. Bless his heart. How about that? Bless his heart. Our current president has had an open border for us for like 3 years and just like let everybody in, drug cartel included. And so it's important to know what's going on in Ecuador. First of all, because part of it's our fault because America is the customers of these drug cartel. America and Europe, we're the ones with the big bucks, with the money that are buying the drugs. Our own youth are dying of drug overdoses because of this whole cartel problem, right? So this beautiful, beautiful country that I haven't gotten to visit yet of Ecuador is dealing with this huge issue. So we're going to look at this article together, my friends. I'm going to read it to you. Ecuador plunges into crisis amid prison riots and gang leaders' disappearance. The president declared a state of emergency and ordered the military to neutralize dozens of gangs. Gunmen stormed a TV studio as cameras rolled. Gunmen wearing masks stormed a television station in Ecuador's largest city on Tuesday, literally 2 days ago, taking anchors and staff hostage and exchanging gunfire with the police as cameras rolled before the intruders were subdued and arrested. The televised violence captured live erupted in the city of Guayaquil, my husband's home city. It's the second largest city in Ecuador. The capital is Quito, which is in the mountains. Guayaquil is by the beach, right? It's by the coast. So, all right. Televised violence captured live erupted in the city of Guayaquil as the South American country has descended into chaos this week, with a powerful gang leader disappearing from prison, uprisings breaking out in several prisons, and inmates kidnapping and threatening guards. One of the attackers who stormed the TV station could be heard on air asking to be wired up with a microphone, saying he intended to send a message about the consequences of messing with the mafias before the police intervened. The armed men also forced the anchors and other staff being held hostage to appear in a video asking the president not to interfere. The police said on social media that they had arrested 13 people after the episode, recovering weapons, explosives, and other evidence. You could see them on camera on live TV. They had like little bombs and huge guns and everything. All right, the hostages were taken to safety, the Post said. By Tuesday afternoon, at least 8 people had died and 2 others had been injured in violent episodes in Guayaquil, according to the city's mayor, Aquiles Alvarez, who held a news conference alongside the chief of police. The authorities also said 5 hospitals had been overtaken. Explosives, burning vehicles, looting, and gunfire were also reported across the country, and the authorities announced that a second major gang leader and other inmates had escaped from another prison. Oh no, I didn't know another major gang leader had escaped. So now there's 2. Oh, goodness gracious. Ecuador president, he's a brand new president. He was just elected in November. Daniel Noboa. Sorry, I apologize. Noboa. All right, Daniel Noboa declared an internal armed conflict on Tuesday and ordered the armed forces to neutralize 2 gangs, which he described as terrorist organizations. Accurate. According to a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. Shops, schools, government offices, and buildings were shut down. Workers were sent home, and the streets of Quito and Guayaquil, that's the 2 largest cities in Ecuador, were jammed with traffic. It was chaotic, as you can imagine, said Carolina Valencia, who was visiting family in Guayaquil from New York. There was traffic everywhere because people just wanted to get home. The buses weren't fully operating, so people were jumping on pickup trucks that were open in the back. They were desperate to get home to safety, right? There was a lot of desperation. She added, since this gangster disappeared, everyone has been in constant fear. Mr. Noboa, the president, who has prioritized restoring security to the country, awash in gang violence fueled by a flourishing drug trade, had earlier declared a state of emergency and deployed more than 3,000 police and military officers to search for the escaped gang member Adolfo Macias. The 60-day declaration imposes a nationwide overnight curfew and allows the military to patrol the streets and take control of the prisons. The time is over with drug trafficking convicts, hitmen, and organized crime. The time is over when drug trafficking, convicts, hitmen, and organized crime dictate to the government what to do, Mr. Noboa said in a video announcing the state of emergency on Monday, adding that it was necessary for security forces to take control of Ecuador's prison system. I'm worried for that president's life, to be honest with you. He has a huge target on him. Mr. Macias, who was the lead of Los Choneros gang, is better known as Fito. That's his nickname. Disappeared on Sunday from an overcrowded prison in the coastal city of Guayaquil, from which he has long overseen his group's operations. The government had ordered the transfer of high-profile convicts, including Mr. Macias, from the cells where they had been running their criminal rings to a maximum security facility. That decision, experts said, may have led to the escape of Mr. Macias and the prison uprisings. Some security experts believe that as many as 1/4 of the country's 36 prisons are controlled by gangs. Mr. Noboa has vowed to retake control of the prisons, which have become both gang headquarters and recruiting centers. So crazy. Last week, he announced that he was seeking to hold a referendum on security measures, including harsher sentences for crimes like murder and arms trafficking, and expanding the role of the military. Mr. Noboa, the center-right sanction of a banana dynasty, took office in November after an election dominated by worries about safety and economy. Violence has spiraled in recent years as gangs have battled for control of a lucrative drug trafficking routes that transport narcotics to the United States and Europe. Those fears were amplified by the assassination of on the campaign trail of the presidential candidate Fernando sorry, Villasencio. Sorry about that. Who, that's a long name, who had said not long before his killing that he had been under threat from Los Choneros. Mr. Macias is perhaps the most well-known of the gang leaders running drug operations from behind bars. His group is believed to have been one of the first in Ecuador to forge ties with powerful Mexican cartels. Mr. Macias, who, he's right here in this picture, who is serving a 34-year sentence for crimes that include drug trafficking, escaped from prison once before in 2013. He became the leader of Los Choneros around 2020 and presided over the gang's activities from his cell in the Guayaquil prison, part of a compound that holds over 12,000 inmates. Evil guy right here, right there, evil guy. After Vicencio was assassinated last summer, Mr. Macias was briefly moved to a maximum security wing in the same compound. But his lawyer appealed, and the judge, who I'm sure was paid off or threatened, ordered Mr. Macias to be transferred back to his preferred spot in the prison in Guayaquil, which serves that's just corruption at its core, which serves as the Choneros' base. He celebrated by releasing a music video from prison in the style of a narco corrido, a genre originating in Mexico that glorifies the violent feats of drug traffickers. Last month, Mr. Noboa, promoting his plans to tackle the country's prisons, said he would start with measures such as cutting off Macias's access to power outlets and routers. You can see on YouTube that Fito's cell has 4 outlets more than in a hotel room. Mr. Macias was found missing from his cell during a sweep for contraband. His disappearance came as he and other high-profile criminals were scheduled to be sent to a maximum security prison, according to officials. A top general official suggested this week that Mr. Macias may have learned of his imminent transfer through a government leak. That would be very serious, said the official Esteban Torres, because it would mean that there is a rot at the highest level of government. You know there is. You know there's people that are paid off by the cartel that are in the government. Of course there is. Securing Ecuador's prisons is vital to making sure efforts to root out corruption are effective, said Will Freeman, a fellow for Latin America Studies at the Council of Foreign Relations. You need to make sure that when you actually send people to prison for money laundering and working in complicity, in complicity with organized crime as public officials, that the punishment is meaningful and that they're not just continuing to operate criminal rings from jail. He said a state of emergency could help stabilize the prisons since the entity tasked with running the prison system had failed to control gangs. But that is not a long-term solution. He noted that Mr. Noboa's predecessor had repeatedly imposed similar measures. Oh man. Obviously, they didn't really durably improve the situation, he said. Jorge Nunez, an anthropologist who has studied the Ecuadorian prison system for years, said Mr. Noboa was not doing anything dramatically different when it came to the penitentiary system. Here's a picture of the prison. It's a mix of imprisonment and basically doing the same thing, said Mr. Nunez, who said the previous government had turned the prisons over to the police, who had overlooked the growth and excessive empowerment of prison gangs. The privileges extended to cartel leaders increased over time, he added. Sweeps of prisons revealed not only extensive catches of weapons and electronics, but also pigs, roosters, and and a cockfighting ring. So like a ring of they would like make bets on the roosters fighting each other and stuff. Okay, on Monday night, as the first curfew approached the streets of Quito, the capital, were quickly deserted. Only police cars and ambulances could be seen in a quiet reminiscent of the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. The curfew affects us directly, said Junior Cordova, a restaurant owner in Quito. We had a great beginning to the year, but that's not looking so good now because people are starting to feel scared. All right, my friends, that is the end of the article. So basically you got an overview of what's going on in Ecuador. That article helped me a lot to understand what is going on, what's the root of what's going on, and why all of this is happening. So I think Americans are very ignorant. Not everyone, but a lot of us, we lack being informed on how our decisions affect other countries. In America, we have a drug trade going on, and there's a lot of youth that die from overdoses and from fentanyl poisoning, and it's coming from the cartel. The securing of our southern border is super, super important in this, and as you heard, that was a huge, huge problem, that the Ecuadorian gangs and the drug cartel in Ecuador now have a new formed relationship with the Mexican cartel. In Mexico, the cartel are so horrible. They rule the streets. So I've not been to Ecuador, but I've been to the most dangerous city in the world at the time, which was Ciudad Juarez, just over the border in Mexico, um, from Texas. And in Ciudad Juarez, for example, I was riding in the car. Okay. When you cross the border to Mexico, at the time when I went, which was when I was 21, now I'm 35, so that was a while back. When you cross the border, the police officers all have masks and they all have huge guns. And the reason for that is because if the cartel find out who they are, they will kill them and their families, or at least target them. And bribery is a big thing that the cartel will pay off police, because the police are underpaid, overworked and underpaid, so they get paid off by a drug cartel. In the country, all the people live in poverty except for the drug cartel. So the youth, who are used to being poor, are incentivized to join the cartel. The rich people in power at the top of the cartel view the young teenage boys as expendable. Their lives are shortened because of the gang violence, and they could care less. When I was riding in the car, in Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, I was sitting next to a pastor from Mexico, and we passed by this cool water park, and I was like, "Oh, that water park is so cool, right?" But it was shut down. And he said, "Yeah, one day the drug cartel came in and shot and killed all of the what do you call it? All of the lifeguards, all the people that worked at the water park, and so they shut down the water park." Why do they do this? Why does the cartel go into a child's birthday party and kill everyone there? Why this senseless violence all over the city in Ciudad Juarez? There were photos on billboards of girls that were missing, girls that had been teenage girls and ladies in their, like, from teenage to in their 20s, that had been kidnapped, likely murdered, and all over the city there was pink crosses painted on all of the poles, like every light pole you saw. And the pastor explained to me that represented that one, each girl that had been kidnapped and murdered. And we found out as well from a girl that was in college that one of her classmates was kidnapped actually by the police, and she was released, but they told her to not say that it was them. So we see the police is also just as corrupt. So this corruption cuts deep. I think in America, we live in our bubble and we don't know how corrupt other countries are. We don't understand that in other countries, if a presidential candidate is saying that they're going to take a hard stance against the cartel has him assassinated before he even becomes president, like in Ecuador. So it's really scary and really sad how innocent people, like in Guayaquil, Ecuador, where my husband's from, 4 children. Like, I think of my kids. I have 4 little kids, and I also think of my husband when he was a kid. Just they were inside their home watching TV, and some asesinos, some assassins came, and basically gang members came and shot up their house, and all 4 of these little kids, like the same ages as my little kids, like just think like little kids like mine, right? They were watching TV in their own home. You should be safe in your own home, right? They were shot and killed, and because their parents were not involved in drugs or anything, but their neighbors were, and the wrong house got shot up, basically. So just being in the wrong place at the wrong time in their own homes, the safety of their own homes wasn't even safe for them. So This is my YouTube channel, and I can pray because I'm not an employee of a news station where they aren't allowed to talk about God. I believe that the people are not in control at this point. The government is not in control at this point. Even judges can be bribed, and the mafia can influence judges to make decisions. They can influence the police. They can pay off guards. They can threaten police officers or pay them off. And so we have this big, huge problem. So we're going to pray for Ecuador, and we're going to pray for Mexico, and we're going to pray for also Peru and also Colombia, because these are, and there's a lot of countries that are affected by the drug trade negatively, and this is not a good situation. So we're going to pray. Dear Lord, we lift up to you all of our concerns, all of our worries, all of these problems, Lord. I thank you that you helped the police to have the victory on Tuesday over the cartel, and that they were arrested, the gang members that were present, the 13 gang members that were present. I pray, Lord, that you would put an end to the violence in Ecuador. I pray you would help the people there to have a more peaceful daily life. I pray you would restore peace back to South America, to Mexico, Lord. I pray for the people that are just trying to live an honest life, Lord. I pray that you would bring them peace. I pray for an end to the drug trade and an end to just all of the evil that's going on in our world, Lord. I pray for peace between Israel and Palestine, Lord. You are a God of miracles. I pray for peace wherever there is war, Lord. I just thank you because you are a God who cares. And I know that when evil goes on, your heart grieves, Lord. And I know that you are able to put a stop to all the bad stuff that's going on. Thank you so much for caring about us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for watching. Bye.